I want to welcome everybody. It's nice to be back from Israel. I was there for 13 days with Rabbi Ellen Wollensfields, our executive director. And first week we did Women's League business and visited. And the second week I attended a conference for a mission, the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, and I represented Women's League. And there's about 10 messages in the chat welcoming me home privately, and I thank all of you. It was a wonderful, wonderful trip. I still have jet lag, and I have to say that the breakfast I made this morning was nothing like the Israel breakfast that I've had every day for the last 14 days. I'm missing those tomatoes and those cucumbers. It was really an incredible trip. Okay, so today we're here today to visit again with our friend Lois Silverman, who is the co-chair. Oh, I don't know who did that. Thank you, Isabel. So Lois is the co-chair of communications for Women's League, and she has done this program pretty regularly over the last 2 years. It's really wonderful. We've had Jews in comedy, Jews in film. For most of you know that Lois has taught at the university level in New York at the state school system, and she comes to us as a volunteer with her knowledge, her extreme and extensive knowledge of the theater and everything that goes with it. So we are going to start, and Lois, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's hope this works. I always hope that it's going to work. Can you see my screen? No. Okay. I have to go back. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see? Oh, now you can see my screen. And as I say all the time, if you would just wait 1 minute while I get rid of some of this stuff. What we're going to do today is we're going to explore some of the, hold on a sec, I'm getting rid of this. We're going to explore some of the, okay, we're going to explore some of the films, musicals of the 1930s. And we're going to be talking more about the composers than the stars. In the 1930s, if you remember, if you were with me last time, the Jewish moguls who ran the studios were afraid to put Jews as stars of their movies. You could be Jewish, but you had to change your name, and you couldn't look too Jewish. So most of the Jews that we're going to cover today are going to be composers, lyricists. So let's take a look at the movies. Now, in the early movies, not only did we have the problem of Jews not being in front of the camera, we had problems with the technology. Cameras had little or no ability to move in early sound musicals. Why? Because movement of the camera was restrained by the noisy motorized cameras. Cameras had to be motorized because sound talkies needed standardized, uniform, consistent speed of 24 frames per second. So a person cranking the old-fashioned camera couldn't be used in a talking movie. So the motorized camera was so noisy that they had to be constrained into a sweat box. And you see a picture of a sweat box from MGM Studios below. The camera could not move out of this sweat box, and it could only move, just a little bit. So in every early film that's a musical, there was little movement and stilted dancing. The shot was static, as if you were looking at a stage. Now let's take a look at a couple examples. Now, the Marx Brothers, Minnie's Boys, they came from vaudeville, as did many of the early musical comedy stars of talkies. And they were in motion pictures early on, from 1905 all the way to 1949. Now, of course, you all know that there were 5 Marx Brothers: Chico, who was Leonard, he was the oldest. Harpo, who was Adolf, who later changed his name in 1911 to Arthur. Groucho, who was Julius. Gummo, who was Milton, and Zeppo, who was Herbert. Now, they were in movies, in 1929, there was a movie called Coconuts. But today we're going to be looking at the 1930 movie that they made called Animal Crackers. The music was written by Bert Kelmar and Harry Ruby, whose real name was Rubenstein. And this collaboration wrote songs like Who's Sorry Now? I think we're all thinking Connie Francis also. I Want to Be Loved by You. That's Betty Boop's song, right? Three Little Words, A Kiss to Build a Dream On. And the screenplay was written by George S. Kaufman and Maury Riskin. So let's take a look at the stilted dancing and musical scenes of this movie.
Why, you're one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and that's not saying much for you.
Captain Spaulding, Rittenhouse Manor is entirely at your disposal.
Well, I'm certainly grateful for this magnificent turnout, and now I'd like to say a few words. Hello? I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same, I must be going. La la.
For my sake, you must stay. If you should go away, you spoil this party. I am through.
I'll stay a week or two. I'll stay the summer through. But I am telling you, I must be going.
Before you go, you won't like us and never go. You'll need to going.
I'll do anything you say. In fact, I'll even stay.
Good.
But I must be going.
There's something that I'd like to state that he's too modest to relate. The captain is a mild man. Sometimes he finds it trying.
This fact I'll emphasize with stress. I never take a drink unless somebody's buying.
The captain is a very moral man.
If he hears anything obscene, he'll naturally repel him.
I hate a dirty joke, I do, unless it's told by someone who knows how to tell it.
The captain is a very moral man. The race of Captain Spaulding, the African explorer.
Did someone call me Schnorrer?
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
He went into the jungles where all the monkeys throw nuts.
If I stay here, I'll go nuts.
Hooray, hooray, hooray. He put on his reliance, in courage and defiance, and this is like the science.
Hey, hey!
The old white man will come and dance the acre.
Hooray, hooray, hooray. He put on his reliance, in courage and defiance, and this is like the science.
Hey, hey!
Spaulding, the African explorer, he brought his name on dying fame, and that is why they say, hooray, hooray, hooray.
My friends, I am highly gratified at this magnificent display of effusion, and I want you to know
Spaulding, the African explorer, he brought his name on dying fame, and that is why they say, hooray, hooray, hooray.
My friends, I am highly gratified at this magnificent display of effusion, and I want you to know
Spaulding, the African explorer, he brought his name on dying fame, and that is why they say, hooray, hooray, hooray.
My friends, I am highly gratified at this magnificent display of effusion, and I want you to know, hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Well, somebody's got to do it.
With Animal Crackers, Duck Soup, and Horse Feathers, the Marx Brothers laid the basis for the screwball comedies that were to follow for the next 2 decades. One thing you should know is that if you look closely at some of these movies made around the same time, the microphones were hidden in the mock telephone or a floral arrangement or a palm tree or something like that. Things changed because of a man named Busby Berkeley. He made talking musicals move and dance despite the static camera. He made an art form of a technical challenge. Now, he used little or no camera movement, but his artistic editing gives the appearance of dynamic movement in his production numbers. Now, he collaborated with a number of Jewish lyricists for his movies, and these included Al Dubin. Now, Al Dubin collaborated with Busby Berkeley on 42nd Street, Dames, Footlight Parade, Wonderbar, The Gold Diggers of 1935, and The Gold Diggers in Paris. And some of the songs that you may know that he wrote was A Cup of Coffee, A Sandwich and You, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Are we thinking the 1960s with Tiny Tim? And from 42nd Street, Shuffle Off to Buffalo, You're Getting to Be a Habit with Me. And you can read the rest of these. All of these are standards in the song, the American Songbook. Interestingly enough, in 1919, Victor Herbert wrote Indian Summer. It was written as a piano solo, and later on in 1939, Dubin wrote the lyrics for it, and it was in a movie. Now, we're going to be talking about the biggest show on earth, The Gold Diggers of 1933. Yes, all the movies were the biggest, the best, and it hasn't changed since. But this movie, 1933, shows both sides in the movie of the Depression through the music of Al Dubin. At the beginning of the movie, We're in the Money tries to be happy and carefree and optimistic during this time of hardship, during the time of the major depression, where more than, I won't say how many in percentage terms, but I believe it was more than a third of people were out of work or underemployed. Now, at the end of the movie, in the song called Remember My Forgotten Man, we get a realistic image of the gritty depression that's going on in the United States and around the world. It focuses on the effects of the Depression on women. And the sets are influenced by German Expressionism. Think German Expressionism, if you remember what it looks like in the movie Frankenstein. That's a prime example of German Expressionism, as well as the movie Dracula. Now, the song Remember My Forgotten Man is performed by Joan Blondell with a featured vocal solo by Etta Moten, who also dubbed Blondell's voice at the end of that number. Now, the song Remember My Forgotten Man is inspired by the May 1932 War Veterans March on Washington and Franklin Roosevelt's speech about the forgotten man from the same year. The problem with the camera, the stationary problem, was fixed in 1935 when the camera was liberated. Just to go back one thing, a lot of the music that you saw in these scenes and in some of the other movies were pre-recorded. This allowed the camera to get onto the lifts, the panning, the all sorts of techniques to move the camera, noisy though it may be. It would be done without sound, or as the directors would say, MIT, without sound. And then they would edit the sound in. And that was how Busby Berkeley and some of the other directors made musicals. The musical was thus liberated. Now, in 1936, one of the first liberated musicals was Showboat. It starred Irene Dunne, Alan Jones, Charles Winnegar, Paul Robeson, and Helen Morgan. Now, it was based on the 1927 musical with the score by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II, which in turn was adapted from the 1926 novel by Jewish novelist Edna Ferber. By the way, the song Bill, which is featured in Showboat, was originally written by P.G. Woodhouse and Jerome Kern for the 1917 musical Oh Lady, Lady. By the way, Oscar Hammerstein did not consider himself Jewish, and even though his grandfather was Jewish, he was not. So please, we're basically talking about Jerome Kern here. Now, the Universal Pictures Part talkie Showboat was made in 1929, but the head of the studio, Carl Lemuel, didn't like the movie. He was greatly dissatisfied and wanted to make an all sound version, which he did. And it's not a musical comedy per se, Showboat, but a serious melodrama with musical numbers that reveal character and further the plot. Could this be the first integrated musical even before Oklahoma, which is considered the first integrated musical? I don't know, but this was an integrated play, musical, film in more ways than one. It had a multiracial cast, and the plot deals more seriously with themes that weren't usually dealt with in musicals, including the plight of an interracial couple for whom it's illegal to perform together in certain southern states, as well as misogyny. Now, Paul Robeson played the part of Joe. Joe is a stevedore, and he serves as a one-man Greek chorus. The song Old Man River is sung from his point of view. And as sung, the scene is surreal. It becomes a surreal montage with camera suddenly swirling around Joe. It contrasts the struggles and hardships of the African Americans with the endless, uncaring flow of the Mississippi River. Now, the song is notable for a number of reasons, including the lyrical quality of the melody, Jerome Kern's melody, the subjects of toil and social class, which usually isn't mentioned in a musical comedy or any kind of musical, and the metaphor of the Mississippi River is something unique. But most strikingly, it's a bass solo, which is very, very rare in musicals, where solos are usually given to baritones or tenors. Now, the music and lyrics seem to ennoble the singer and the listener, not because it acknowledges that failure is our common lot, but because we are moved to sing about it with gusto and to celebrate something greater than ourselves. It's almost religious in nature. Jerome Kern's music is noted for its natural flow of rhythm and for the often folk song-like qualities of its melodies, not just Old Man River. And these melodies possess an indefinable but unmistakably American character, not bad for a Jew. Now let's take a look at Old Man River, certainly one of the high points of this movie.
There's an old man called the Mississippi. That's the old man that I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got troubles? What does he care if the land ain't free? Old Man River, that old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. He don't plant potatoes. He don't plant cotton. Them just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, you get a little drunk and your land's in jail. I get weary and sick of trying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. But old man River, he just keeps rolling along. Dark is always on the Mississippi, dark is always while the white folks play, pulling those boats from the dawn till sunset, getting no rest till the judgment day.
Don't look up and don't look down. You don't designate the white on brown. Get your knees and bow your head and pull that rope until you're dead.
Let me go away from the Mississippi, let me go away from the white man boss. Show me that stream called the River Jordan, that's the old stream that I long to cross.
Old man River, well, old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling, he keeps on rolling along.
Old river forever keep rolling on.
And them that plant them, he soon for drowning. But old man River, he just keeps rolling along.
Old river keeps hearing that song. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, you get a little drunk and your land's in jail.
I get weary and sick of flying, and tired of living and sick of
Dying, but old man River, he just keeps rolling along.
Jerome Kern wrote over 700 songs and they were used in over 100 stage works and movies. His melodies have a timeless, distinctly American sound that redefined the Broadway show. Now, he collaborated with many others besides Oscar Hammerstein. He supplied music for Otto Harbach, Johnny Mercer, Ira Gershwin, Yip Hartberg, and Dorothy Fields. Now, Dorothy Fields, who was the daughter of a vaudevillian, throughout her 48-year career, wrote 400 songs for 15 Broadway stage musicals and 26 movies, including I Can't Give You Anything But Love, Baby, On the Sunny Side of the Street, Lovely to Look At, I'm in the Mood for Love, Don't Blame Me, and Big Spender in 1966. Her lyrics were known for their strong characterization, clarity of language, and of course, humor. Now, Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields worked on the movie version of Roberta, and their greatest success was in Swing Time, both of which starred Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Now, the film Swing Time features 4 dance routines that are each regarded as masterpieces. Now, the screenplay is contrived by today's standards, but left plenty of room. But the screenplay leaves plenty of room for dance, and all of it was superb. The dancing was superb. Although the movie is remembered as one of the great dance musicals, it also boasts one of the best film scores of the 1930s. Now, Jerome Kern's score, the second of 2 that he composed for Astaire, contains 3 of his most memorable songs. The Way You Look Tonight won the Academy Award for Best Original Song and went on to become Astaire's most successful hit recordings. And it scored first place in the US pop charts in 1936. Now, The Way You Look Tonight is a foxtrot and is sung by Astaire seated at a piano while Ginger Rogers is busy washing her hair in a side bathroom. Astaire conveys a sunny yet nostalgic romanticism, but later, when the music is danced to as part of Never Gonna Dance, the pair will create a mood of somber poignancy. As evident of its enduring appeal, the song is regularly featured in modern cinema and on television, such as in Chinatown and My Best Friend's Wedding. Now, the song A Fine Romance is a quick step dance, and it has bittersweet lyrics. It's sung alternately by Rogers and Astaire, with Rogers providing an object lesson in acting, while a bowler-hatted Astaire appears at times to be impersonating Stan Laurel. Pick Yourself Up. It's one of their most joyous and exuberant numbers. It's a technical tour de force, and the basic polka embellished by some syncopatic rhythms and overlaid with tap decorations. That's a little more complicated than I'm used to giving, but that's how they're dancing. Now let's take a look at this.
I can't teach you anything.
Please, teacher, teach me something. Nice teacher, teach me something. I'm as awkward as a camel. That's not the worst. My 2 feet haven't met yet, but I'll be teacher's pet yet, 'cause I'm going to learn to dance on birds.
Nothing's impossible, I have found. For when my chin is on the ground, I pick myself up, dust myself off, start all over again. Don't lose your confidence if you slip. Be grateful for a pleasant trip and pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again. Work like a soul inspired till the battle of the day is won. You may be sick and tired, but you'll be a man, my son. Will you remember the famous men who had to fall to rise again? So take a deep breath, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again.
I'll get some self-assurance if your endurance is great. I'll learn by easy stages if you're courageous and wait. To feel the strength I want to, I must hang on to your hand. Maybe by the time I'm 15, I'll get up and do a nifty.
All right, I'll show you again. Now remember, 3 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right.
That's the right.
And turn. All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I know, I'm fine. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again.
Listen, no one could teach you to dance in a million years.
It's most Miss Carroll, I want to show Mr. Gordon how much you've just taught me.
No, never mind.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very sweet of you.
Please.
I'm very anxious for Mr. Gordon to see this because I think it's the most interesting experiment. Now, how did you say that last step went? Oh, yes. Shall we try it right through? Won't you sit down, Mr. Gordon?
and Ginger. He sure was a great one, but don't forget Ginger Rogers. This is a cartoon that originated in 1982. Now, Fred Astaire was from vaudeville, and he had an act with his sister. And during the 20s, he appeared with his sister in shows by Jerome Kern and the Gershwins. And he eventually had autonomy to create choreography in his own films. Now, Ginger Rogers was a vaudevillian who was an overnight star at 19 in Girl Crazy, also by the Gershwins. And she had a breakthrough role in 42nd Street. And according to Fred Astaire in Flying Down to Rio, their first film together, Ginger had never danced with a partner before. She faked an awful lot, but she couldn't tap and she couldn't do this and that. But Ginger had style and talent and improved as she went along. She got so that after a while, everyone else who danced with me looked wrong. These are the movies that they made together. And basically all their movies were lovemaking in dance. Now, the Gershwin brothers wrote the music and lyrics for the movie Shall We Dance? But first off, let's take a look at Of the I Sing. It was the first musical to win the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 1932. And it was basically a musical created by Jews. Maury Riskin was the librettist. George S. Kaufman did libretto and was the original director. George Gershwin did the score, and Ira Gershwin did the lyrics. And it opened in 1931 and ran for 441 performances, and it gained critical and box office success. And basically the plot is that it lampoons American politics. John P. Wintergreen runs for president on the love platform. When he falls in love with the sensible Mary Turner instead of Diana Devereaux, the beautiful pageant winner selected for him, he gets into political hot water. It's a musical that was never made into a movie. In 1931, the Marx Brothers were going to adapt it into a musical, but they decided to do Duck Soup instead. And it was never made into a movie, except you could go and search the web and you will find the 1972 TV version starring actors then appearing in CBS TV series such as Carol O'Connor as Wintergreen and Cloris Leachman as Mary Turner. And there have been many, many revivals in regional and local theaters because it's still basically a period piece, but there are things in there that can be used as examples of today. Let's take a look at the revival from Paper Mill Playhouse in 2004.
Love is sweeping the country, waves are hugging the shore. All the sexes from Maine to Texas have never known such love before. See them billing and cooing like the birdies above. Each girl and boy alike sharing joy of life. Deals that passion will soon be national. Love is sweeping the country. There never was so much love. Winter Green for president. Winter Green for president. Winter Green for president. Winter Green for president.
Send the news nationwide. He stands by his bride.
See you later, boys. Of thee I sing, baby. You have got that certain
star and inspiration, worthy
Shall We Dance was done in 1937, and it was the 7th of the 10 Astaire Rogers films. Gershwin's brothers, this was their second Holloway musical after Delicious in 1931. Now, the idea for the film originated in RKO's desire to duplicate the success of Rodgers and Hart's 1936 hit musical, On Your Toes. Now, the plot, an American dancer gets involved with a touring Russian ballet company. To score the movie, RKO managed to attract the Gershwins, and George wrote the music and Ira the lyrics. Now, Astaire headlined with the sister Adele and 2 others that we mentioned series, and Rodgers, of course, we mentioned Girl Crazy. Now, Gershwin became famous for blending jazz with classical forms. We think of American Paris, and of course, Rhapsody in Blue. And that has the opening of a clarinet in a phrase that sounds klezmer, and it even echoes the sounding of the shofar during High Holy Day services. And that was the opening of Rhapsody in Blue. Now, Gershwin not only used his background in his, I guess his Jewish background would come through no matter what, but he also used motifs from American folk songs and Black spirituals. Now, for the film, Gershwin wrote each musical scene in a different style of dance music, including one scene specifically for a ballerina. Now, Ira Gershwin and Fred Astaire were not enthusiastic about the idea of using these different styles, but Ira was able to keep up with George's mercurial changes of style, rhythm, and purpose, and he did. George's reputation seemed to overshadow his brothers, and his mastery of songwriting continued. Ira's continued after the early death of his brother. He wrote additional hit songs with composers Jerome Kern, Kurt Weill, Harry Warren, and Harold Arlen. Now, Let's Call the Whole Thing Off comes from this musical. And Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire sing alternate verses with a quick step before embarking on a partnered comic tap dance on roller skates. And it takes place in Central Park at the skating rink. Astaire uses the circular form of the rink to introduce a variation of the oompa trot that he and his sister Adele used in vaudeville. In a further dig at ballet, the pair strikes an arabesque pose just prior to toppling into the grass. Let's take a look.
Gosh, I can't keep this up much longer. I haven't been on skates since I was a kid.
Well, it was your idea.
Yeah.
How much longer do we have to stay out here?
All the reporters will probably leave by dark. I guess it would look kind of funny if we denied the marriage now, wouldn't it?
I don't know what to do.
I don't either.
The word is either.
All right. The word is either. No use squabbling. That'll get neither of us anyplace.
The word is neither.
Things have come to a pretty pass. Our romance is growing flat. 'Cause you like this and the other, while I go for this and that. Goodness knows what the end will be. Oh, I don't know where I'm at. It's plain to see we two will never make one. Something must be done. You
You say either, and I say either. You say neither, and I say neither. Either, either, neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing off. You like potato, and I like patata. You like tomato, and I like tomato. Potato, patata, tomato, tomato. Oh, let's call the whole thing off. But oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart. So if you like pajamas and I like pajamas, I'll wear pajamas and give up pajamas. For we know we need each other, so we better call the calling off. Oh, let's call the whole thing off.
You say laughter, and I say laughter. You say after, and I say after. Laughter, laughter, after, after. Let's call the whole thing off. You like Havana, and I like Havana. You eat banana, and I eat banana. Havana, Havana, banana, banana. Let's call the whole thing off. But oh, if we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my heart. So if you like oysters and I like oysters, I'll take oysters and give up oysters. No, we need each other, so we better call the calling off. Off. Let's call the whole thing off.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick, follow the yellow brick, follow the yellow brick road. You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You'll find he is a wizard, a whiz, if ever a whiz there was. If ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Questions? Anybody?
So we turned off the chat. If you'd like to ask Lois a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and just ask.
The chat's back on now.
Okay, you can put
We
it in
didn't
the
want to
chat.
interrupt Lois's presentation before, which was fantastic. Thank you, Lois.
You're welcome, I'm sure.
Okay, if you would like to unmute and ask Lois a question.
Lois, what is a librettist? Is that the person that writes the screenplay?
Yes. Mhm.
Lois, it's Edna. I noticed in the clip with Groucho Marx that he had a painted on mustache.
Yes, that
When
was
did he decide to grow it later?
not until like towards the end of the movies, the end of the movie, his like around 1949, 40. He did a couple later ones with his brothers. One, I can't even remember them. They weren't that great, where he grew his own mustache. That was his stock in trade from vaudeville. And a lot, all the characters that you see in the Marx Brothers movies were developed in vaudeville. I mean, all the shtick was developed in vaudeville, and they just moved it to the movies. It wasn't until later, like Day at the Opera, A Night at the Opera, or Day at the Circus, that they were a little more liberated from, the stage vaudeville type shows that they did as movies.
Thank you.
Here's a question. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I thought I remember reading somewhere that Fred Astaire had Jewish antecedents.
I'm not quite sure about that, but it's quite possible.
Astaire was a stage name. Austerlitz or something was his original name.
Right. He could very well have been. I didn't go into it. I'm sorry. Yeah. The interesting part was when he took his screen test early on, before they paired him with Ginger Rogers. I think it was Louis B. Mayer, I might be wrong, whoever it was at the time, or Harry Cohn, whoever, said they didn't know about him because he couldn't sing. He had a receding hairline and a weak chin. He wasn't, they didn't know if he had movie presence, and certainly it proved him wrong, whoever said it. Someone else? No one. Oh dear.
Lois, this is Debbie. I just looked up, is Fred Astaire Jewish? And it says, Dr. Google says, Astaire was born in Omaha, Nebraska, the son of Joanna Ann and Frederick Fritz Austerlitz. Astaire's mother was born in the United States to Lutheran German immigrants from East Prussia and Alsace, while Astaire's father was born in Linz, Austria, to Jewish parents who had converted to Catholicism.
Very good. And of course, you all know that in Austria, that was the only way to get ahead. You had to convert to Christianity in the early 1900s. Anti-Semitism was rampant in Austria, especially in Vienna at the time. Anything else? Okay, so next time we'll continue looking at some other composers. And I have to let you know, somebody asked me once, how do I choose what to present? Usually I present what I like. And so that's why you saw the clips that you saw. The one clip that I couldn't put in was something by Cole Porter. And of course, he was one of the few major composers at the time from movie musicals who wasn't Jewish. And someone once said he tried to be Jewish by the use of his music. So, all right, till next time, have a good month. Stay warm, stay healthy.
And we want to thank you, Lois,
you.
for a wonderful presentation. 150 women enjoyed it, and we look forward to next month. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.